fiction or football, Arsenal signing Victor Gyokeres and Rodrygo still isn't enough to win the Football League. The Premier League, sorry, not Football League, Premier League.
Why you gotta do that to me, Tez? Huh? Why you gotta do that to me, Tez? Look, I honestly, I think it's football. You know, I think it takes them over the league. I think it can take them over the league. I think Rodrygo is an amazing player, first and foremost. I think you can't underplay when someone plays for Real Madrid and plays it for several years. He's made over 120, I think, over 120 appearances. That is not a shoddy player. That is somebody who is a staunch player who's only 24, by the way, right? And it's not like he's not scoring goals or getting assists, right? Last season he was at 15. I mean, last season I think he was at 11 and 7, right? And we've seen before he was at 15 and 7 as well. So this is somebody who not only has great play in terms of being in front of goal, but also is actually a team player, right? When I see Rodrygo often playing, the work that gets done with Rodrygo is the runs. It's the runs that he makes that open space for other people. So I can see this person opening up Arsenal to taking them over that line, because someone like Gyokeres as well too, sufficing that he hits the ground running. This is a goal scorer, someone who's aggressive. I think it's somebody that Arsenal have lacked. I wouldn't mind him at Chelsea with the kind of aggression that he plays with. He almost, when he's running, he's almost bullying people when he's running. I like that. You know what I mean? And so for me, I think that kind of profile Arsenal have been missing for a very long time. Somebody who can take the ball by the horns out front. You need that player that sometimes goes, you know what? I don't mind having a half chance. I will take man on and I'll do my best and score this goal in the most awkward way. I don't care how it gets in, but I'm going to get it in. I think Arsenal haven't had that for such a long time. They've had a great player like Gabriel Jesus, who's very cute, wants to twist people 3 or 4 times to make sure they do splits before he scores a goal. Wonderful. But, you need that kind of profile, I think, at Arsenal that is going to be a little bit more gritty. I think that's what Arsenal have missed for a very long time. So for me, this is a football design. I think they take some of the line. I personally think it takes some of the line, personally.
Well, what do you? I'll pass to Tom, obviously, because Tom, you're a Liverpool fan. Wirtz, Frimpong, Gyokeres done. Massive chance of Gahey. Decent chance, according to the media, when it comes to, well, some media outlets on Isak, others saying no chance. If Arsenal do sign Gyokeres and Rodrygo, is it enough to win in the league? Fact or fiction? Football or fiction?
Fiction. I don't think it wins them the league this year, just because I think that the other teams have improved as well. If we hadn't got Florian Wirtz and City hadn't bought Reinders and solved their midfield problem, I'd be 100% football, because that's Arsenal fixing their 2 big problems. So it's now just about how their ceiling goes up, how many points can they amass. But the problem is the 2 teams that, when fit, are ahead of them in my eyes. Or also, one's getting back to full fitness and getting their key player back, and the other one has just added the best number 10 on the planet to a team that hasn't necessarily lost any key pieces, and it's just adding the pieces that they need to that starting 11 that's already won a league title. I don't think that Arsenal are going to be enough to win the Premier League next year. I do think there's a real chance they win the Champions League, though. I do think there's a real chance to win the Champions League, because Rodrygo and Gyokeres gives them the real knockout football edge that I think, even though they got to the semi-final last year, I do think they lack that difference maker in knockout football at points. But knockout football is very much about individual moments, and a lot of it's about pace and power. Now, Rodrygo and Gyokeres gives that attack a lot more pace and power than Havertz and Martinelli has. Therefore, in those tight, nervy European away games, they have more of a chance. I think that in the league, they'll get close, but not enough. But I think in the Champions League, you could very easily see them make the final this time around, because they've fixed the problems that I think was just holding them back a little bit. That PSG tie, I know Arsenal fans go on about the fact that we beat PSG in 3 games. Was it 3 games out of 3 on XG or whatever? Well, if you've got players like Rodrygo and Gyokeres who finish chances, maybe you're actually beating them on the actual scoreboard, so they're just XG score. So, stuff like that matters. So I think that Premier League, probably just not yet. I just because the other teams have also taken them steps and they just have that winning experience. But I think European-wise, I'm really not ruling out. I really think that definitely one step further. I could see them get to that final easily.
Sorry, go on, Roy. So I've got this fan in here that like cools the room down, but it's very loud, and I mute my mic while I was about to talk. I thought I better not. If I unmuted it when that was still on, it sounds like I'm inside an aeroplane. Sorry, over to you, Roy. Sorry.
I think this is fiction because a lot of people are sort of brushing over the fact that one of the most important additions of any team this window is the reigning Ballon d'Or winner back into Man City's squad. Like, Man City have Rodri back now, and with last season, personally, I think Pep is probably the greatest manager of all time. But his coaching last season, frankly, by his standard, was horrible. Like, his team was getting beat every week. It was the same stuff, losing in the same way, hogging the ball, getting done on the counter, and defense all over the place. But I think adding Rodri back into this team and giving him Reinders, he's an all-round number 8. He's got legs. He can chip in with goals and assists. He can come back and defend. He can really help out Rodri in that pivot. So his introduction into the team isn't going back into, oh, you're playing on your own because Gundo's got no legs, Bernardo's got no legs, KDB's never fit, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think Pep coaches as terribly as he did last season again. And I think you add Shirky into that, who's one of the most creative players in Europe. He's not going to be Kevin De Bruyne because Kevin De Bruyne he's practically a once-in-a-lifetime footballer with his pace, power, creativity, goal scoring, and everything else he provides. But with Shirky, you can replace a lot of his creativity. If Foden can recreate the season that he had when he won Player of the Year, and hopefully not have a off season like he did last season, that's a huge contribution to their attack too. Erling Haaland back fit because obviously he had time out last season. But the most important thing is just that if Pep's actually doing his thing, like with all due respect to Slot, who's an excellent coach, and Arteta, who's also an excellent coach, none of them can match him. And add Rodri back into the team. I don't know who Arsenal can sign that can topple Man City personally, because I think he'll shore up his defense this year. Rodri back in the team, got more legs alongside him now. You've got creative players and players who can chip in with goals up front now, and hopefully Haaland can stay fit. If not, they've got Marmoush. So personally, I think right now I probably have City as the favourites, and that again, that's no disrespect to Liverpool. It's just I know what their coach has done in this league, and I just don't think he'll have a season like last season. I think Liverpool will push him all the way again. Like, I think it would be great for Salah to not have the workload he did last season, where, frankly, it was absolutely ridiculous, the burden he had to carry. But from Arsenal, Gyokeres and Rodrygo, I don't think that topples Man City. And if Liverpool get a striker, I don't think it topples, especially if it's Isak. I don't think it can topple them either.
Especially if it's Isak.
Yeah, if you get Isak, Arsenal have no chance of finishing above.
Oh, I thought you meant us toppling City.
Yeah,
that's the part that got me.
This is
Oh no,
where,
if you get Isak, you've got a very decent chance.
Where you said fixtures, as well as the question was Arsenal signing Gyokeres and Rodrygo still isn't enough to win them the league. You started off by saying fiction, which means you disagree with that. You meant football, as in
yeah, football. Sorry, my bad. I don't think it's enough. Let me
look at it this way, right? I think it is enough to see. This is where, and maybe I'm going to be accused of playing politics here. I think it is enough to win in the league, although that, and this is why the word standards in football, I feel it's been reduced. I think it's been reducted too consistently. Signing those two players plus Zubimendi is a good enough window to go from second place to winning the Premier League. Because if you look at last season, they drew 14 games. Forget what City do. Forget what Liverpool do. If you actually go back and watch all those games, I watched every single match of Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City last year. I do it every season because of my job. I would say a good 50% of those draws for Arsenal, if they played with Gyokeres, Zubimendi, and Rodrygo in their team and squad, I think they turn half of them into wins. That then puts them much closer to the title of last year as an example. Their points would be much higher than it was, irrespective of what City and Liverpool did. I think they could win the league, but they also might not. I think it's enough to win the league, but sometimes you're good enough to win the league title, but it doesn't quite go your way. One, you could be bang on. Rodri could be at tip-top form. Cherky and Reinders are the best out there. And Pep, he is still the better of the three coaches. Coach is the most perfect season. Liverpool, as good as they were last year, but suddenly Isak and Wirtz are delivering on another level. And again, they just outshoot and outscore Arsenal over 38 games. It doesn't mean Arsenal have done bad business, right? And that's where it's going to be so intriguing to see. But all three of these clubs are looking like they're going to have brilliant summers. They're going to have excellent teams going into the start of the season. And this is what's crazy. All the Arsenal fans that are saying, give me that win now striker to win now. I still think, I would remember watching this scene in the David Brent movie, this follow-on from The Office. And he's in the room with a counselor and he says, I'm going on tour and hopefully I'm going to get a record deal. And she said, well, what happens if you fail and you don't get a record deal? And obviously David Brent, if you don't understand about David Brent, you might not get this. He went, well, failure is not an option. And she said, but it is though, isn't it? And it was a really important part of the film because a massive part of the David Brent character is he's playing someone who could have been Ricky Gervais if he didn't make it in his 30s. Someone that's still, I want it still, but is kind of angry and depressed and sad that he didn't get the life that he wanted. You can do that as a football fan. We need to buy a win now. We'll go on and win the league. There's a chance you have the perfect summer you want and still don't win the league. And not because Arteta's crap, just because Pep and Slot do better, right? And that's the element for me about that question that I like is I don't think it's a black and white yes or no answer personally. Although right now, irrespective, even if they sign those two players, I'm still putting Liverpool as favourites. I actually think both Liverpool and Arsenal, though, if they all have good summer windows, I think they both finish above Man City next year. I don't think City will get back to the peak of their powers under Pep. Yeah, I think they'll still be a very good team. They'll still be in the top three. But if they all have the summers they're expected to have, I think it will be Liverpool followed by Arsenal followed by City next season.
I don't think you can even underplay how much. Sorry, bro, go for it.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I don't think you can underplay how much KDB actually made Man City the team they actually are. Like I know we talk about Rodri all the time, right? But this KDB person only needs to play 15 games a season and come in for those 15 games. And it's not just about him scoring or assisting. It's in the vital games where you think to yourself, they ain't got a chance. The team is probably beating them maybe 1-0 or whatever. They ain't going to come back. They throw him on. He gets those extra points. So for me personally, I don't think Man City get to necessarily, I could be wrong. And I'm going to have to come over here and apologize in a couple of months' time, right? I don't think they get back to the same level that they actually are because they're going to have to change the way they play. KDB is like an elite player, one-off type of player who can pass the ball from the center to the corner flag with ease. I don't know. He's a different kind of player, you know? And so that makes the team a completely different team. I do think Arsenal I think Arsenal, their only issue, like I said, that's why I think Rodri specifically as well makes a difference because he's been in a winning team before. And you can't underplay a mentality with, like, when you play football and you play with certain players, when you play them, they will tell you before they start the game, I don't feel good about this game. I'm not really sure if we're going to win this game. Them kind of players they're always a problem to you because when the game turns and it goes not against you, they're the ones that always don't do the best kind of footballing. But when you've got someone like Rodrygo who's played in a winning team before, has won trophies, that's a mindset thing. So it's not just he's a good player; it's a mindset thing which has to elevate other people around you. That's why I think that you can't Martinelli, any player on that left-hand side, like you were saying, they don't even compare because they haven't won anything per se. They've won an FA Cup. Don't get it. I'm not going to put that down on them. But you know what I'm saying? Like the level of what Rodrygo has brought to the table is completely different. And I think Gyokeres too, being as somebody who, like I said, is a bully up front a little bit. You know what I'm saying to you? It's a bit more aggressive. When the team is pressing and you have someone like that can press and bully a defender, that only stokes you up as a player as well. So I think that's what Arsenal have always needed. It was always cute. It was always pretty with Arsenal. I just need that. I think those two there make a massive difference. Now the question is whether they actually get Rodrygo. You know, if they can actually get it over the line and they're serious about that, that's a different story.
It's very true. This is Terry Pep has described last night in an interview that Rodri is not fully fit. He's playing 20 to 30 minutes. And look, listen, Van Dijk came back, and if people remember rightly, I think his first 4 or 5 games, he looked amazing after his knee surgery. Then he probably had a 12-month period where he wasn't quite at his levels, and people said he was finished. It was something like that. He started well when he came back.
His first season back was dead good, and then because he played so much, the second season he was so off the boil.
Yeah, so it's one of them things, but not every. But Van Dijk came back and was very, very good. Listen, I ain't wishing this on him at all. They've got to be careful because what is also very common at elite level sports is a recurrence or the other knee goes. And this happened to a number of players. Callum Wilson was one. Anderson at Man United was another.
Verts had 2 ACLs on different knees.
Verts has had it. I want to say, not Kai Havertz. Somebody else was in my mind then. It was a Man United player, Alessandro Martinez. And yes, he's more impact based, but there is a theory, and it's backed up. I've watched a lot of this stuff on Joe Rogan's podcast when he has experts on that say that even in the recovery process, the strong leg can become weakened because of the extra pressure and work you put through it, and then you can come back, and it can just be. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. So, but what's that you need to do is use him sparingly. I don't think they can just throw him in and go, there you go, because Rodri was 90 minutes every week, twice a week, all the time. That may not be, again, defenders, you can get away with that a bit more because defenders do less work than midfielders are up and down the whole game. So they've got to be very, very careful with Rodri. Plus, and this is also part of my train of thought, is the World Club Cup. And this could be the one thing that hurts Chelsea next season. And only because it's unprecedented. Nobody knows what the start of the season is going to be like for Chelsea and City with no pre-season. Now, people go, but World Cups and Euros, yes. But most of the best players at most of the top teams are at the Euros and World Cup. So all of them have disturbed pre-seasons. It evens things out. We have never seen this where clubs are playing like the international teams and there's going to be no pre-season. So we have no idea whether this makes Chelsea and City start faster and fall off, start slow and never recover, or has zero impact and they're just as good. So there's all these little things I think to factor in when it comes to Man City. And I think that's what gives Arsenal and Liverpool, when you are splitting hairs between the best teams, the advantage over them going into next season. But Arsenal have got to get the players signed. Otherwise, I do think City will overtake them. They're all going to be good, though.